I'm Erin Leigh. I created a simple tutorial for you to get your creative juices flowing and start faith art journaling today. All the supplies listed are below, and they're all under $20. So I hope this encourages you and helps you just get started creating. I started with my extra fine point Sharpie and a verse. I chose my verse and I started doodling. I like to start without a plan and kind of see what happens. When I write my letters, I like to have a lot of contrast. Big, thick letters, small, thin letters, some curves, some straight lines. I like to kind of see what happens and not really have a plan, because that feels more like play to me. So go ahead and practice writing your verse. If you don't like it, start over. You might want to write it 1, 2, 3, 10, 12 times and have fun with it, because the more fun you have, the more that will show in your work. When you're done with your verse, you can start on the flowers. My go-to is always flowers because they're so fun and they're so easy. There's circles and lines and curves and more circles and lines and curves. So these little guys, I started on the inside and drew the petals outward, drew some big leaves and little leaves, and just kind of made it up as I went along. Toward the bottom, it got cut off a little there, but I drew my messy rosettes, which are just kind of big circles with scribbles in the middle and some branches coming up with some berries and leaves on them. And now I'm all done with my line art. When you're done with your line art, it's time to paint. Here's the fun part. Get your brush wet, get your colors wet, and you can begin. I started without a plan, and that's just how I like to paint the most. Be sure to have lots of paper towels next to you, because just about every time I paint something, you can see that I soak it up with that paper towel, and it makes it a little more muted. Not quite so vivid, but I love how vivid and bright these Crayola watercolors are. And they're so affordable that they really make it available to anyone who wants to. Notice I'm not being real meticulous about where my paint is. I'm not worrying about staying in the lines. I'm just kind of having fun with it. I want it to look real wild and free. And so I paint and then I soak up that color with the paper towel. I'm just going to keep adding paint to the page, the flowers, and next to the text. A couple times I make a really ugly color, but I love watercolor because it's really forgiving. You can just soak it right up with your paper towel. And I kind of just keep adding colors until I get a color I like. You can see there on the love that I didn't really like the brown, but I just kept adding some colors until I got one that I liked. So play around with it and have fun. Okay, when you're done with your watercolors, you're going to add some white ink. And the link to this ink is below this video. I love this ink because it's really, really opaque and it's really, really thin. It's Speedball, super pigmented acrylic ink. And I just add it in to add details on the flowers, on the letters, kind of all over the place. When I'm done with the ink, I'll let it dry and go back over with a fine point Sharpie. And I just kind of go back over the letters so I can read it better. And that's it. You're done. You did it. Thanks for joining me. I would love to see what you create. Every Friday we get together with a tutorial or some kind of post to share our faith art. Join me at Faith Art Fridays at Art by Erin Leigh and pinkpaperpeppermints.com. We would love to see what you're making.